Got good news and bad news. Good news is that, got the privileges returned to me after 2 weeks of suspension from being able to upload new videos to this channel, GMS Ratings. So the bad news is that I have already separated GMS in Revelation Times from this channel. And so that's another channel, so you need to subscribe to that. Now that one doesn't have any strikes on it whatsoever. And that's where the longer length videos are going to go from now on. That's the bad news, but still good news. In other good news, well, we're just going to go down that line. Good news, bad news. The good news is that Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai came to save of that of which is lost. And who was lost? Who was scattered among the nations? The Hebrew Israelites. This is very bad news for the Edomites and the rest of the world that believes that their personal Jesus came to save everyone. The good news is that Yahweh and his son Yahushai are not so-called white people. They are in fact black, having white woolly hair. Bad news is that this goes against everything that Edomites had done to change the image into the image of Cesare Borgia and taking down our images and putting their images up. Thus, Satan has been uncovered. So when you're worshiping the white Jesus, you're worshiping Satan. But you know, they didn't want you to know anything about that. No, of course not. And we could just keep on going down the line, but we're going to talk about the Mark of the Beast a little bit, because there's a company in Wisconsin now where 50 of its employees volunteered to get this microchip. I mean, just right off the bat, they volunteered. This is not mandatory. They just volunteered to have it. You know, and so what are people going to do when the going gets tough? I talked about this just right before they took down the channel, you know, and stopped me from uploading new videos. I had also talked about how us Confusion of Faces, people who look like so-called Edomites, are coming against Esau, and Esau can't handle the shifting, because the shifting has begun. That a lot of us Confusion of Faces find out that we're Israelites. It's like, well, no wonder why we differ with everything we've been taught, you know, from the very beginning. You know, they try to teach us their ways. It's like, well, I can't follow in their ways. No, I'm not going to salute the American flag. No, I'm not going to celebrate any of these fucking holidays, because that meant enslavement for those that were enslaved, you know. And we're not supposed to forgive them for that. And why would we want to celebrate a regime that's stealing all the resources in Syria, hiring terrorists in Syria just to overthrow a government of Bashar al-Assad, you know? And a news that lies to us on a constant basis. The Sandy Hook shooting was nothing but fake. Fake actors, crisis actors, and all that. So, yeah, we differ with all that, you know? AKA, we're conspiracy theorists. Did you see we don't fit in? I think Dabu 7 is probably a Confusion of Face Israelite, and I'm not the first to have said that. You know, I think there's many Confusion of Faces out here. So, you know, we know that the true Hebrew Israelites consist of blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, but then you got Confusion of Faces, people who don't look like them. They're going to look Japanese, Chinese, going to look like they're from India. They're going to look like Ishmaelites. They're going to look like, you can have some that even look like Hamites. We've been scattered over there too. So, you know, there's Confusion of Faces all around, you know. But the fact is, though, is that the good news is that if your spirit is receiving this, and you're getting all this, and you're not differing with what I'm saying, but you're differing with everything that you've been taught, you know, well, then you're probably a Hebrew Israelite, you know. Plain and simple. So Esau doesn't want this. He doesn't want people to come forward, to step forward, and to come out of Babylon, basically, to come out of these philosophies of Babylon the Great, America, you know, because we know that America is going to burn in 1 day and 1 hour, because that is Babylon the Great. So yeah, it's time to come out of these philosophies and teachings of Esau, you know. So I'm just going to keep on encouraging y'all to subscribe to the great GMS in Revelation Times. And I'd also like to take this a further notch. I know it only takes one more strike to do this, but I'd really like to try to get a camp set up here in Redding. It's a point between San Francisco and Seattle, because we don't have any camps. I have not seen a great millstone in Portland or anywhere else, so Redding is like halfway between Portland and Seattle. You know, so it'd be a pretty good stop. I used to call this place a truck stop, because over on Knighton Road here in Redding was a truck stop, and it was one of the places that we would stop up on our way up to Oregon, you know, when we would go to Portland and Salem. So I think that this would make a great camp, because believe it or not, Redding's not just some small town or some small truck stop, but it'd be such a branching point, you know. So yeah, I do pray for laborers, you know, so we can get something started here, you know, because I'd really like this to become a camp, GMS Redding, you know, because we simply don't have one yet. So, you know, but of course it takes a lot of commitment, you know, because you have to commit to certain days that we'd be out there all the time. And then in between that time, you know, we'd get together, and we'd study this truth, maybe do some live chats and all that, you know, because I know that there's going to be other brothers that have a computer that can do that, you know. So, you know, I'd like to step this up a notch, you know, because this is the year of death, diligence, and destruction. You know, we got to be diligent in this thing, because we're almost done. Now that people are lining up to get the mark of the beast, we know that we're almost done. Sorry about the shaking, but my Pomeranian has her paw on me while I'm holding this so-called selfie stick, you know. Again, so that's what my challenges are, you know, to try to keep this thing going. And in the meantime, I'll still be making videos right here, you know. And Esau can't stand that we Hebrew Israelites are coming together, which include confusion of faces. That's the biggest thing that they're trying to do with all these hitmen camps, to tear down the idea of confusion of faces. So we're just going to stand strong against that. And we're going to come against Esau, the so-called white man, who is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And I also want to say shalom to all the hopeful elect, and to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught this truth in sincerity. And peace and honors and salutations to the hopeful elect. And death to Babylon the Great, America, and to the 2/3.